Hello friends, today I'm going to wade a little bit deeper into the Nephilim whirlpool. I used to describe it as a whirlpool to my students because it's just this circular garbage can that draws in more and more and more, and you can throw anything in there and make it fit. Warning, I am going to be showing images of an indigenous skull from South America. Images of this particular skull and others from the same region are all over the internet thanks to the likes of L.A. Marzulli and Brian Forrester, who want to throw them into the Nephilim whirlpool. I know that showing images of indigenous remains is a sensitive topic. I am choosing to do it in this case because I cannot effectively explain why they are so very wrong about what they are saying about these remains without actually showing the remains.
But the smoking gun, and I challenge anybody to come on the show and talk about this. Here is the Foramen Magnum right here. There's the Foramen Magnum. That Foramen Magnum is all the way to the rear of the skull. If it's any further back, it's outside the skull. See that? If it's any further back, it's outside the skull. This Foramen Magnum should be here. Should be in the center of the skull to give the skull a balance. See that? It should be like right there to balance the skull like a normal human being. But that's not what we see. What we see is the Foramen Magnum has been pushed back as far back as you can.
This is a cast of a skull from Peru. So what we can see here is the base of a skull. Here's the outline of the Foramen Magnum, and there's just some kind of material left over from filling that void for casting, and then there's a hole drilled in there, which he puts a wooden dowel on the stand. So the Foramen Magnum would be this whole thing. His claims about the position of the Foramen Magnum and its importance and whether this is a real human or not is one of kind of a suite of things. He also talks about the lack of a sagittal suture. He talks about the size of the orbits. He talks about the robusticity, I guess, of the zygomatic bone and the size of the jaw. Today, I'm just going to deal with the Foramen Magnum claim, which is total BS. Let's just move on to the facts. Okay, there's a good view. So this is a little bit sharper than his other video. I don't know whether this is the same cast or not, but he's making the same argument. So here we have the base of the skull. Here's a Foramen Magnum, and here's the hole drilled. And we can see other landmarks here. We can see the mastoid processes. We can see the spheno-occipital synchondrosis. And we can see the palate, and we can see the mandible, and we can see where the mandibular condyles are articulating. So let's compare this to a quote-unquote normal or non-elongated skull. So what I have done here is taken a screenshot from L.A. Marzulli's video that shows what he thinks is an abnormal, impossible positioning of the Foramen Magnum for a human. And I've put up a standard anatomical drawing. This is just an illustration of the base of an average human skull and how the features are related to one another. And I've scaled them the same. So here is the palate, and you can see the palate over here. At the posterior part of this palate, there are these two kind of oval shapes, and there they are there. So I put a line joining those together. This line goes across the spheno-occipital synchondrosis, which is a fancy word for where your sphenoid bone, which is here, it's kind of mostly within the skull. You can't see a whole lot of it. And the occipital bone, which is here, meet. That's a very easy landmark to find. There it is, and there it is on this skull. And this is where he was pointing and saying, this is where the Foramen Magnum should be. You can't have a Foramen Magnum there, pal. That's not where your neck joins. It doesn't work that way. Here are the mastoid processes, which are these big things that kind of hang down behind your mandible. You can easily find them on the base of this skull and on the base of this skull. So I put a line across there. And then I put a line at the posterior margin of the Foramen Magnum itself. There it is, and there it is there. And you can see when you scale these the same, they all line up just fine. This person, this human person whose skull this was, his Foramen Magnum is exactly where it should be. Exactly. What has changed here is that the skull has been compressed, presumably by a cradle board, when the skull was still growing. When this part gets compressed here, the skull grows up, which gives it that elongated shape, and this is kind of shallower. So it doesn't matter where L.A. Marzulli thinks the Foramen Magnum should be for possible balance on his dowel rod. This is what happens when you compress it at the back here. The growth of the brain and the skull has to go somewhere, so it goes where there is less resistance and less pressure. That is the whole point of artificial cranial deformation. That's how it works. The Foramen Magnum is exactly where it should be, and this is one of the most bullshit arguments that I've heard in a long time. Read a textbook. You want to make all these bold claims about how history is wrong and we've got all this wrong, and you don't even have the basic curiosity to educate yourself on the most fundamental aspects of human anatomy. What a bunch of baloney. L.A. Marzulli, I actually don't know that much about him. I just realized the other day that he's been apparently really upset by a video that I made years ago, and he's got a reward out for information that is going to somehow incriminate me. 216,000 subscribers. He's been, quote unquote, on the trail of the Nephilim for years. He is fairly active on YouTube right now. He's releasing videos a day ago, 3 days ago, 4 days ago. He sells his research. I don't know whether it's book form or video form or movie or whatever. He talks a lot. He's definitely coming from the Christian angle with the Nephilim. He's in tight with Brian Forrester. Our friend Fritz Zimmerman from the other day, who, labels a picture of a 1.8 million year old skull from Georgia as a California Nephilim. They're buddies. So super credible there. Maybe I'd get more views. Maybe I'll adopt his his graphic style here for my thumbnail. And just like Fritz Zimmerman, I could go through these videos and debunk them point by point and spend my career doing it. There's a lot. 708 videos so far. A lot of stuff that I'm not interested in, but it all ties together. It's part of the Nephilim whirlpool. You got your elongated skulls, your UFOs, your dark-eyed children, your government conspiracies, Bible stuff, demons, the Vatican, new skull found, mysterious vanishings, there have been findings, Messiah is not from space. Playing as fast and loose with interpretations and quote-unquote facts and evidence as he does gets him a lot of BS points in my book. He's right up there. I should run a contest. Maybe we should have nominations and awards. Maybe that's an idea for my members section. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that. There will be more on his other Nephilim skull things at some point. Whatever. Have a happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. Even you, LA. Have a happy Friday.